Okay, well, welcome back to Intellectual Potluck, everyone. Today we are chatting about something a bit different. We're going to talk about economics, but promise it's not as boring as it sounds. So we are talking about whether things have actually become more expensive or if we're just spending money differently, and this whole generational divide that seems to have come up as a result of money, really.
Yeah, and excess or excessive higher wages.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'm joined by my lovely friend Steph.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah.
Hi, Sam. Nice to be here again.
Yeah. So Steph joined us ages ago for one of our very first episodes, so really, really excited to have you back.
Very happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much for agreeing again.
You're welcome.
I'll just give a quick summary of what we're going to talk about, and I'll include time codes in case anyone just wants to skip to the bits that they find interesting. What we're going to look at is the cost of like leisure items versus wages, how the different generations have approached this and the different ways that people spend on entertainment, and then why people today seem to be prioritizing those small luxuries over potentially bigger luxuries, or even like things like houses, cars, stuff like that. So we're both millennials, so I imagine that our experiences are potentially quite similar.
Yes.
So we're probably going to be very biased to our millennial views, but that's okay because
that's all right.
This is our space to talk about it.
And it's a safe space.
Exactly. I think as well, like millennials, other people probably don't see it like this, but I see us as kind of like the middle ground. So you've got like the Gen X's and the boomers who have like one way of spending and grew up with one economy. Yeah. And then there's us who like had this big transitional shift.
We've grown up with a lot of change.
Yeah.
We've had so much change in our generation.
Yeah,
and I think we're unique in that way, whereas like you said, Gen X and boomers, it was just one way for such a long time. Technology was happening, but it hasn't changed as rapidly as it has for us.
Yeah, it hasn't taken over the same way that it has with us.
Yes.
Yeah. And then I guess the generations under us, they're in a difficult financial position, let's put it like nicely. Because we're in this transitional stage, a lot of us were like lucky enough to kind of get in while the going was good-ish.
Good-ish.
Yeah, and now it's like, it's this hard space for everyone. So I think it's very, very different for the generations under us as well. So
yeah, absolutely.
Big divides, very
big divides, and just so much difference in a short amount of time between our generation and the next. And they're not that much younger, but it's just it seems to be so much harder and even more overwhelming. And
I feel so bad. Like Grant has a couple of colleagues who are like a bit younger, and he was talking to them about like houses and stuff, and they were saying that they want to buy a house. And he's like, should I tell them that it's maybe going to be impossible for them? I'm like, you don't want to think that it's now impossible for people, but it is this like really weird situation that I hope economists somehow fix.
Yes.
I don't know how they will.
I don't know. I think it's going to take a long time. And obviously, I think a lot more governments they're aware of the fact and they're trying to come up with new ways to support them. But I just don't know what the solution is, because inflation is real.
Yeah.
And wages just aren't keeping up, and houses are going up and up. As soon as you're looking, then that's gone up again.
Yeah, I mean, Brisbane's a classic example. Like all of it. I want to say it's all the Melbourneites, because poor Melbourne.
Yes.
But during COVID, so many people from Melbourne in particular came up to Brisbane.
Yeah.
And so then we had this like housing boom where all of these Melbourneites who had more money, were coming and buying Brisbane houses, which, okay, great. But then Brisbane people couldn't afford the houses anymore.
Yeah.
And there's this sudden influx.
And there's just not enough. And now that we've got the Olympics coming, that adds a whole nother complexity, because once you're an Olympic city, everything goes up again. Yeah. So I feel sorry for the people, even if it's not even the generation below us, it's people of our generation that still aren't in the housing market, that are still going to struggle. And unless things drastically change between now and then, it's then going to be really impossible, I think.
Yeah. I mean, we might all just have to migrate to Darwin. It might be affordable there. I don't know. I'm probably going to look that up now, and Darwin's really expensive. But
yeah, it's probably not as cheap as we think it is.
Yeah.
Or what it used to be.
Yeah, you got to learn to have Crocs in your backyard.
Oh, and the weather. Super, super hot. Super wet.
Yeah, it's always so weird when like Jared talks about Darwin and he's like, oh yeah, we would have like intervals within like the halves of a football match because we couldn't last for the whole half without heat exhaustion. Like, that's crazy.
craziness.
Compared to the UK, where it takes the first half to just get warm.
Yes. Like, what is going on? It's so polarizing. And it's so polarizing even though we're one country.
Yeah.
It's just, it's very interesting from north to south.
Yeah, Australia's weird.
Yeah.
After 6 years living here, the one thing I've concluded is Australia's weird.
Australia is very unique.
And as soon as you think you got it figured out, they'll send a cyclone to Brisbane and you're like, I don't understand what Brisbane is anymore.
And then it's, not even a cyclone, it's just flash flooding.
Exactly. No, it's a roller coaster.
It's a roller coaster for sure.
Yeah. So the fact that all of these big things have become so expensive, I feel like a lot of like our generation and the younger generations are spending a lot of money on leisure items or like smaller luxuries. And I mean, I think part of that's social media, but I'll go into that in a bit as well, because I'll rant about social media for an hour if you let me. But I've heard a lot of criticism, I guess, from other generations about how the younger generations spend. And most of this is just like hearsay, things that I hear from people, things that I hear from Grant, who people tell Grant everything for some reason. But yeah, it got me questioning whether or not our generations just have a bit of a liking of extravagance, or whether it's a result of the fact that the economy is shit. And so people are now just investing in like these smaller things that make them feel good.
Yeah, I think there is an element of that, and I also think it's also to do with more disposable income compared to what previous generations might have. So previous generations would have had less income and were probably happy to wait for things. But even our generation, they don't really want to wait. They want everything now. Yeah. They want the house, they want the car, they want the job, they want the swimming pool, they want all the finer things. But it's credit. Everything's on credit. So it's sort of... It's a combination of both, I think. And I think at this point they're like, well, maybe I'm not going to have a house, so let's just spend on whatever else we can spend on.
Yeah, I think there is an element of like people have given up on some of those bigger things, so you spend on the smaller things.
Yeah.
But I like what you said about it all being credit, because I do think we are the credit card generation.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I know department stores for a long time when I was growing up, they were like releasing all their credit cards. Credit cards have always been such a big thing, and everyone I know now spends on credit.
I know. And then the other question is, lay-by was such a big thing, but do you know anyone that lay-buys anything anymore and puts it away for later?
No,
it's I'll pull out the credit card.
Yeah,
put it on the credit card.
And I always hated credit cards because my dad told me to, really.
Yes.
Yeah, and so I came over here and had never used a credit card in my life, and then I realized that I had no credit score and I had nothing. So it was like, okay, you need to spend on some credit.
Yes.
So things like this couch, we bought it on credit because we needed some kind of credit score, because I had nothing, especially coming in as a foreigner. They're like, no, why would we give you anything?
Why would we give you money?
Exactly. Like, you could just leave the country. What are you doing?
Yes.
So, yeah, no, it's a weird one, the credit system.
And it's interesting, and I mean, I suppose this would be another topic for another day, but all the banking inquiries and banking commissions and stuff like that. But it seems like the credit nowadays, the limits are just astronomical. Whereas my first credit card I got as a student, similar for you, to make sure that I had some emergency money and get some credit scores going. But that was $500, and then you could go to maybe $1,000 or $2,000. But most credit cards now start at like $6,000 to $10,000, and you're like, I don't want $6,000 to $10,000 worth of credit. Yeah. I want maybe $2,000. And it's just, and then they go, oh, do you want more credit? So more people are just, they're going from $10,000 to $20,000
and they're just willing to give it. It's really weird. Like when we got our mortgage, the amount that we got approved for versus what we could actually afford.
I know.
Like, we got approved for, I would say, double what we could actually afford to pay back. I was like, why would they give? They're assuming that we don't eat. We don't
have a life.
We don't get bills. Like, why would they give us this money? And
yeah, I think maybe too, that's probably where our generation might differ. We're somewhere stuck between, right, we can get credit, and B, we still are quite conservative with money because that's how we've grown up. Yeah. So we're kind of in between. We're like, oh, we've got this option here, but we also want to be careful. Whereas I would say the next generation, They're like, oh, we'll worry about that when we're older.
Yeah.
But we're sort of like, well, we've got to be careful for the future, whereas they're not so
There's no real
worried about
incentive
that.
to be careful because if you can't afford the bigger purchases, but also like I've heard people say to me, you know, you might never be able to retire. You're going to retire at 80, stuff like that. Like, younger generations hearing this, why would they be saving? Because they're like, well, I'm never going to retire anyway. So
that's true.
In my mind, I kind of lean closer to how they think, even though I know that I guess strategically that's not the right move, but also you could do all of the right things and still not end up with any rewards. So it's like you're kind of taking a risk either way.
Yeah, that's true. I think too, the element of everything's going to change quite quickly and quite often. And even in the career space, people's careers change multiple times now in their career, in their lifetime. So it's sort of like, oh, well, if I want to change that, I can change that because nothing is permanent, nothing is forever.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And I mean, I quite like that. I know that like the older generations typically like you found a job and you stayed in it for your whole working life. Like, that's what my dad did. My mom stayed in the same career her whole life. I mean, I guess you're probably the exception. You've stayed in your job for a long time.
Yeah,
You've been in your field for a long time.
Pretty much. I had started my full-time working career in the same industry. I'm still in that industry, so I'm 15 years into my working life, I guess. But I think there's always room for change. I think you can see shifts everywhere in any industry at the moment. There's a lot of change happening. Yeah. So you never know what's around the corner.
Yeah. It's nice to, I guess, have all options open to you. Like, if you just feel like doing something different, you can. That's kind of the fun of the world that we're in. Like, everything is so open, especially with the internet. Like, you can just kind of choose anything.
That's right. And I think, like I said, I'm caught between, right, I can choose anything I like, but I'm also a bit conservative. The generations below us are much more willing to take that risk because they don't really have any other option. They don't really know what's ahead because it's so uncertain at the moment anyway. Yeah.
Well, and I guess they're young enough as well. Like, I don't really know how old the oldest of the generation under us are, but they're probably young enough that there's plenty of time to, I guess, fix any mistakes. Like, I've changed careers several times. Yeah. Like, I kind of started in sales, then went into marketing, then went into disability support. Now I'm back in marketing. But that all happened like throughout my 20s, where I was kind of like, I can just change
what you want to do.
Yeah, like I had periods where I didn't have a job and it was only like a few weeks and money was super tight in those times, but Grant was able to support in those times. Yeah. And I was able to take that time to try and find the right thing. Whereas like in my 30s, I don't know that I'd have the same, like if I suddenly decided to make a big shift, I'd be like, I don't know. Risking a lot.
I think now too, for me, I guess, in that time, okay, I know I have my parents there. They'll always support me. But from a financial point of view, for the longest time, it's just been me. I'm responsible for me. There was no partner to share that load with if I was unhappy or wanted to leave. And that's recently changed. So I guess that's also another option down the road because you've got that extra support. But that probably also kept me where I am because financially I was like, well, it's only one income and it's just me. So I need to make sure if I'm going to move, I'm not just moving for the sake of moving. I want to move into something that I like and I don't want to move into something that is just okay.
Exactly. So, if you're going to take a chance, it may as well be for something that's significantly better rather than taking a risk and just ending up back where you are because then you may as well have just stayed where you were.
That's right. So I can understand why the next generation are a little bit more risky in that sense because, everyone doesn't know what's around the corner. And like you said, they think they're going to be working for the rest of their lives, which might be the case. Yeah. So they're like, oh, well, I'll just do whatever now and do something else later. Yeah. Where we're sort of like, we still want to retire at some point and have money.
Yeah. So still got vague hopes of retiring.
At maybe 70.
Yeah. But Grant and I had a look at our supers the other day and we're like, okay, so we could afford to survive for a year. Great. We can retire for 1 year. Got it. Okay. Yeah. No retiring. Got it.
Yeah. It's an interesting one, but there's definitely, it's interesting because you would think with everything going on, there would be a slowdown in spending. And I think there has. I think I've seen a little bit a little bit through my work, because obviously I work in logistics, so I see imports and exports and what's coming in. But like you said, I think people are just spending differently.
Yeah.
On different things. Maybe travel has dropped a little bit, and that dropped obviously COVID-wise, but that's had an increase post-COVID. But we might now be seeing a shift back to not so much travel.
I think we might be, because like there was a period like once COVID ended and everyone was really excited, like we can leave the country again. So everyone left and did things. But now people are kind of like, okay, the economy looks bad. It's potentially going to look worse sometime very soon. So maybe we don't book that really expensive trip. And I think that when you don't have those bigger things, like if you don't have a holiday planned, like I can understand wanting to lean towards, okay, maybe I'll book some tickets to a concert. Maybe I'll go to the movies a bit more, because you're like, okay, well, I'm not treating myself to a big luxury. Yeah. So I can't just do nothing. Like, I deserve something. Yeah. I think rewarding yourself is really important.
I think that's true. I think you're right there, because I often was wondering why sometimes you're out and you're like, I thought there was a cost of living crisis, but everyone's out having dinner, and it's like, well, maybe that's why, because they're not travelling. They're not putting money into the mortgage. So maybe that's, like I said, that's where they're getting their relief from. They're going out, so they're having a dinner out because, hey, we can't afford to go on a holiday, but we can afford to have dinner.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I was kind of curious. I went and pulled some numbers, but I was wondering if the reason that we do it more is because, like, proportionately, maybe it's cheaper to back in the day. And I actually found the opposite, which was really weird. So, like, I looked at the concert prices in the 1980s, and these are all, like, Australian prices, I think. So a concert would be around, like, $10 to $20.
Yeah.
Which hurt my soul. And apparently the average now is $135.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, because I looked at the Eras tour, because obviously that's just now.
Course.
And so that costs between $79 to $379.
Yes.
Depending on where you sat. And so you've gone from 10 to 20 to potentially $379, and people are still willing to pay the $379, despite the fact that that's like more than a 30 times increase.
Yes.
And it's a massive like mentality shift, because I do believe that back in the 80s people probably were going to concerts less.
Yes.
And now we're spending so much more to do the same thing. And I've heard as well, like for the musicians and stuff at concerts, they make so much less money now from like CD sales and stuff. So it is more important. Like the ticket price is more because of the value to the artist as well. So I don't necessarily think that we're just being ripped off, though I do think that that's maybe part of it.
And from the logistics point of view, that's a lot of money as well. So I just think about what that costs, and then you've got all of that plus the artists and the people on the tour also have to get paid. Yeah. So I get that, but sometimes I'm sort of like, well, for the value of the concert, maybe the concert should be a bit longer. I feel like they are shortening. Like,
I think they might be.
They are shortening, which I can kind of understand, but yeah, it's interesting. I think it depends on the artist and maybe the music, or if it's a show or whatever it is. But I think, your ticket price encompasses so much more these days, because, like, I mean, you're not even seeing a lot of local artists. Most of the bigger ones are from overseas. So you've got that as well. Probably now, with the way the industry is music, or music in general, some of the local artists don't really do the tours. They're trying to release their music in other ways.
Yeah, because I guess if you release digitally, you're still out there. You've got that potential, like, I guess, passive income. And then, it must be really hard to, I guess, get everything together to put together a tour like that. And
you've got to be very big to go on tour these days.
Yeah, I think especially in Australia, because like everywhere is so remote and so separate from each other. Yeah, like, if you want to do a tour of Australia, you are committing to a lot of
moving,
a lot of driving, a lot of flying. Potentially moving very big things. Like I know that's why Pink and Taylor Swift, when they were around, they didn't do lots of different venues necessarily, because they had too much stuff. So it was like, okay, we'll do lots of concerts at this one place, because then we don't have to move our stuff.
Yes.
And I mean, it's an interesting tactic, but then people were willing to do it. Like,
people
flew down.
People were willing to pay extreme amounts of money for their flight and for their accommodation, because as soon as that's pinned in, they're like, we can charge an enormous amount. And it's like, okay, well, they're already spending $300 on the ticket, so what's another $300 on a 2 nights accommodation or 1 night's accommodation and $1,000 on flights?
Exactly.
Like, it's I've committed to this, so I might as well just go all in.
Yeah. Yeah, no, yeah. And I mean, for someone that might be their equivalent of like the old school big holiday of the year. Like going to see Taylor Swift in Sydney could be your big holiday, even if it's only 3 days.
Yeah.
It's cost you just as much. So,
yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, that could be your one big thing for the year. And like, yes, it's expensive, but it's probably still proportionate to what the big holiday would have cost.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, some people are lucky enough to do both, but
yeah.
For the rest of us peasants, like, it's one or the other.
Yes, it's definitely one or the other. And then some might be even more conservative and say that's too much. I think there is a sliding scale.
Yeah. I think there will come a point as well where things reach a price where everyone's just going to say, actually, no, I tap out. And then they're going to have to bring them down because the demand won't be there.
Yeah.
I mean, while we're all willing to pay it, they're not going to drop the prices because the demand is there.
Yeah.
But I think there will come a point where we'll just go, actually, no, $500 for this concert is too much. And then they'll have to drop the prices.
They'll have to drop it, yeah.
Yeah. Or maybe we all just need to get together and say, let's not buy tickets to this. And then the next one will be so much cheaper.
Yes, that would be great. But there is always a select few that go, that's okay, I'm going to do it. So
it'll be the ticket scalpers that just buy all of them.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the other numbers that I looked up were for theme parks.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, because we're really close to the Gold Coast ones, which are good fun. But I looked at Movie World because Movie World opened in 1991.
Yeah.
And they charged $30 for adults and $19 for children back in the day. And now it is $129 to get into Movie World.
That is crazy.
Yeah. Just for like a 1-day pass into Movie World.
Yeah.
Because they have other ticket options, especially for locals, which is nice. I will say, I don't think Movie World's worth $130. That might be a very controversial opinion.
No, I would probably say the same. I recently went to Dream World a few months ago after having not been since I was very, very young. And obviously this is post the theme ride accident as well. Yes. So it was interesting. I think the at the gate price was $114 or $115 just for the day. I think I managed to get tickets through RACQ because I have the roadside membership for about $92. But like that's just to get in for the day. Like you said, that doesn't include food or anything. No. And disappointingly, there was a lot of stuff shut. And it was very, very quiet.
Yeah. Like, there's no rules around what there might be rules, but they could have your favorite thing closed.
Yeah.
You've paid and it's not like there's a big sign outside saying, just so you know, before you pay this money, we've closed your favorite things.
Yeah, and this was a weekend. It wasn't school holidays, I don't think, but I was like, this is a Sunday, and there's all these things that are closed or not working. But yeah, the price was still the price. And I thought, okay, we weren't even there the whole day.
Yeah.
I went on one ride once.
Yeah.
So basically I paid $90-something for one ride. And then we paid for lunch and a few other things.
Yeah.
And I just thought.
That was us at Movie World.
Yeah.
We kind of went because it was the only one of the theme parks we hadn't been to. I've obviously never been because I didn't grow up here.
Yeah.
It was cute. It was nice. But it's very much like, I mean, I'm not a big ride person anyway. Mm-hmm. So it was very expensive gimmicky day, I would say.
Yeah.
And like even Wet n Wild, which I love.
I love Wet n Wild. It's my favourite.
Yeah, it is so good, and I would pay a higher price for Wet n Wild, not than what it currently is, but compared to the others.
Yeah, compared to the others. Yeah.
Will not pay a higher price. Just want to get that out there. Do not raise the price.
Yes.
But even then, if you're paying $130 to get in, you've got to spend the whole day there. You are committing to going on absolutely everything, and it's a lot. Like especially like if it's the middle of summer, you'd be better off not spending the whole day there because you're gonna get sunburn, you're gonna get heat stroke. It's actively encouraging you to be out in the sun for longer. I don't know. Like It's really messy. And I do think that like locals in particular don't go to those parks as much as we would because of the prices.
Oh, absolutely.
I think they'd do better if they drop the prices.
I know, and they talk about the annual pass.
Yes.
But I think really by the time you spend that money on the annual pass, you've got so much pressure on you through that year to go enough to validate the price of the annual pass. Because, like, look at the price for a day. And then you feel like, oh, well, I didn't get much out of that day. So you'd be doing that for the entire year, trying to think, oh, well, did we use that enough? We spent this much money. Are we saving what we thought we were saving by buying the annual pass?
Yeah. I will say, like, for the local annual pass, it's so close to the single entry pass. You may as well get it. If you're going once, you may as well get the annual pass. Grant and I did get the annual passes one year. And it was when I was working shifts. So I actively made an effort, like, when I was off shift to, like, go down when everyone else was at work and the parks would be quieter. So I'd, like, go to SeaWorld when it was quiet. I wouldn't really do the theme parks because it's a bit just walking around by yourself.
Yeah.
But I made sure I got my money's worth, but I did feel that pressure to keep driving down to Gold Coast to be like, right, I've got to use this pass.
And not to mention, you've got to drive down to the Gold Coast. Yeah. Yes, we're close. Okay, so we've got the advantages of people not being interstate or,
but I mean, that
or
highway
whatever.
is always awful.
But, like, that's also a cost, like fuel and time. Got to factor that in.
Yeah.
But yes, it's just maybe that's one of those things, you know, it's a small luxury because...
But I don't know that young people are paying that.
I don't think
I could be wrong, but I don't see teenagers and like young adults at those parks.
No, and you're right. I think too that's probably a side effect of COVID because there's been a lot of conversation about younger generations just now post-COVID wanting to be at home and not be out because they used to be at home because they were in COVID for such a long time at a younger age. So it's just like, oh, I don't want to go out. I'd rather stay in. Yeah. And it's like, okay, yeah. So
I've
maybe
heard schoolies is interesting now because people aren't wanting to like go out and do the traditional schoolies.
Though, I'm quite surprised that schoolies is still trying to go ahead because now that you've got a lot of students at 18 at schoolies, they're at drinking age. So I don't know where the interest lies because when I was at school, you weren't 18. Being a Queenslander, you weren't 18. Most of us weren't 18 at schoolies. We're still underage. So I get the appeal there because they had a lot more programs and a lot more activities because you're underage. But now the kids are already 18, so they've already been to a bar, they've already been to a nightclub. They can just go out and do that. I'm not sure where the appeal is for schoolies. I think for the kids growing up interstate, which would be Grant, like he was 18, but, you know, he's not on the Gold Coast a lot. So that in itself was the appeal.
Yeah,
but for Queensland kids, I'm like, and now you've got the kids going to Bali and you've got the kids going to Byron and, like, it's just a whole different thing now. And but still, schoolies, the price of schoolies is still crazy. Yeah. Like, oh, it's a week on the Gold Coast, so everything goes up 3 times. But anyway, it's just interesting to see if that will continue because I thought a few years ago it was kind of go to the wayside, but somehow...
I thought it was too, and it didn't.
It's still somehow going.
Yeah.
But
and like even just the fact that, you know, the younger generations can afford these, you know, trips to Bali and things for schoolies, that's something that people in like the 50s, the 80s, everything in between would never have done. It wouldn't be like, let's go celebrate finishing school with a trip to Indonesia.
In the 50s, it was, right, you finish school, you get a job.
Yeah.
It wasn't, let's go on a holiday, let alone overseas to a foreign country.
Yeah. So it's like this idea of treating yourself for every milestone has just become so big. Yeah. And I mean, I think it's a lot of it's Instagram. Like you want everyone else is celebrating.
But it starts even younger now. Like, okay, graduating high school was a big thing. You finish high school, you went to uni, and that's when you did the cap and gown. But now you've got kids in daycare. They've finished daycare and they're moving on to prep. But guess what? They've got a little graduation from daycare and they're wearing the cap and gown. And I thought, I went to university and I paid to go to university.
I paid for that cap and gown as well.
I paid for my cap and gown. Like, what is this what has this 5-year-old done?
I know. Yeah, no, I heard someone at work the other day saying, oh yeah, my kids got their like grade 4 graduation. I was like, what's that? Like, what
so I think there is a lot of instant sort of gratification, which probably also stems back to instant spending. We want now, because they're craving that instant gratification.
It's almost like we discovered that all these things give us like dopamine hits, And now we've got this like cheat sheet in our heads of, right, this feels really good. So, okay, we're going to have graduations for everything. We're going to buy more stuff. We're going to all shop on Temu so we can get 10 things rather than just one thing. And like,
which lasts 2 seconds. Yeah. But that's okay. We can buy it again.
It's like we've got this dopamine Rolodex just going through our heads.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. The other thing that I looked into though was like the wages and whether or not, because obviously everything's a lot more expensive now, and we all know that wages haven't kept up. So in 1981, the average weekly earnings for a man, because they were massively different for a woman, but for a man was $311. And now the average for an adult is $1,771.
Wow.
So a huge gap. But when you then compare that proportionately, a movie ticket would be about like 4% of your wage back in the day, whereas now it's like less than 1%.
Yeah.
So for us, we're seeing this thing as much less of a luxury than it was then, because even though it's still expensive in proportion to the wage, it's just not.
Yeah.
You know? So, and I think that potentially it's the same with even like bigger things like flights or concerts, probably not because they've gone up extraordinarily, but going on a holiday in proportion to your wage, it's probably almost more achievable, especially if you don't have the bigger expenses of the house, the retirement, because you can't afford them. So you just spent your money elsewhere.
Yes.
So I thought it was interesting because obviously something being affordable, like it's relative to how much money you have. Like something that's affordable for me is not going to be the same as something that's affordable for someone who earns $200,000.
Yes.
And it all becomes relative when you're looking at it, and it's so different like when you compare the wages of the previous generations and the costs, and it's so messy.
Yeah, it's really hard to compare completely because, like you said, the wages haven't kept up. But then when you look back at the 80s or the 90s, even the 2000s, like it's just the jump in prices, excluding wages, is just so much, just astronomical, and in such a quick succession. Like I found like even growing up, movie tickets, for example, go for $6 as a student. Now as an adult, like you said, somewhere between $17 and $26 for a standard ticket.
I do think it's more than 17.
It's like wow. And I think, well, my wage hasn't really increased that much over that time, and that's only a short period. We're talking like early 2000s to now, so like a 20-year period, not even, and it's just crazy.
I mean, even just COVID to now, I feel like things went crazy and never came back down.
No,
so
there's
kind
definitely
of just gone from one financial crisis to another.
Correct, and we're about to hit another one, I think, soon. But like, there's definitely a pre and post COVID, absolutely.
Particularly with groceries, like I think I don't know if it's better in other countries, but in Australia, because you have the duopoly, you've got Coles and you've got Woolies, they can charge whatever they want. Because for a lot of things, they are the only choice. Like, I mean, you have things like Aldi and IGA, but they don't necessarily sell everything that you need. So people do have to lean on Coles and Woolies, and there's no way of like keeping the prices down because there's nothing.
There was something on the news a couple of weeks ago, and they were talking about inflation and the cost of living, and they'd done a comparison with the essential, like for an essential shop. Now, I'm not sure what was in that essential shop. I remember them saying it was Aldi had gone up 26%, I think, since 2 years ago, and then Woolworths was 30%, and then Coles was 36%, and it's just that's in like a 2-year period. And our wages haven't gone up 36%. Like for an essential shop, like it just doesn't add up.
Could you imagine if everyone turned around, they're like, you're getting a 30% pay increase? Like,
over a 2-year period, so that's like 15+%. It's crazy.
It's hard to see something like a movie ticket as a luxury as well, when you might pay that for something at the grocery store.
I know.
Like if we buy like a big like tray of like pasta bake, that might cost us $12. Actually no, it probably costs more, I'm being generous. That might even cost us like $20. And so then if a movie ticket is $20, it's not a luxury anymore. Like
I must say, it's just so much harder. I went to Costco yesterday.
Oh,
Don't
nice.
often go, but it's been a few times now. But and I think it was $140. but then you've still got to go back and you've got to shop for all the other things. Because even at a Costco point of view, if you've got to look at the per unit price or the per gram price. Great if you're feeding the masses, or maybe great if you're having a fabulous party and you're catering, but on the day-to-day level,
I'm just like, too much stuff.
Is it, and it's just little America, but like, like you said, there's too much of a duopoly. Aldi's trying to be in the same market, but can't cater to everything, so it still leaves you with Coles and Woolworths. So it is difficult in that sense. What would you say your luxuries are when we're talking about lipstick luxuries versus... Oh, it's hard for us because we're both mortgage. We both have a mortgage. So we're lucky in that sense. And we've ticked off a couple of big items. But what have you found has been noticeable for you with the cost of living, and what do you value higher than what you previously would have that you like to put your money towards?
So I tend to value things like, I don't know, going out for a meal or getting takeouts. Like, they're not big things, but I think I'm very influenced by my dad with how I spend money as well. So, like, I do have money that I've put aside for things like I'm anticipating a car to break, so I've got money set aside for that. So I'm probably spending less on luxuries personally, but I do definitely spend more on, like, food luxuries than probably people back in the day would, for sure, because those are my little treats for myself. Like, I'm probably not going on holiday this year. I don't have concerts or anything lined up. The only thing that I've really spent money on is these running events that Grant keeps dragging me into, and I don't know why I keep agreeing. Like, we just signed up for City to Surf, so now we're up for flights and accommodation, and I don't even like Sydney that much, but it's fine, it'll be good. But so my little luxuries are like food for sure.
That's sure.
What about you?
I would say I always said, like, I wouldn't really cut back on certain things, and I think one of the things, although I probably have cut back slightly, I found, like, going to the hairdresser. Like, people, maybe that's one of the things some people cut back on, and I would say I probably have, just by sheer luck, probably not by any other reason, but I have found that I've probably cut back by like one haircut a year, but that's something that I still like to give myself. Having said that, I don't go to a regular salon, which is super expensive. I go to someone that does the salon from home, so it is much cheaper, but even that's gone up. But it's one of those things you think, well, okay, I can kind of make changes elsewhere, but I want to get my hair cut, I'll get my hair cut.
It's good to do, because it becomes more expensive, like, as someone who bleaches their hair till it's fried to a crisp. If you leave it, it gets worse.
That's right.
I'm trying to grow my hair out currently, because I went very short to cut off all of the damage. It's hit and miss. But like, I will say, I'm surprised how many women nowadays have like the fully manicured nails as well. Like, I've only ever done it once for a wedding, and wasn't a big fan personally, and like I just couldn't stop messing with them, so I've never had it done since. But that can cost like $50, if not more. And I would say I feel like I'm in the minority. Like, most people I know have full nails.
I know. I used to do it when I was a uni student. Probably wasn't as expensive then, and obviously kind of I was living fortunate enough to live at home, so my expenses weren't super great at that point. But I went to Sydney to see my sister in January, and just for something to do, we thought we'll get a mani-pedi, and I hadn't done that in years because I don't really want to spend the money. But I thought, hey, I'm in Sydney, I'm about to go on a holiday, we'll get our nails done. Mani-pedi, it was $100. I don't know how people can afford it every week.
I know.
Or every 2 weeks. It's just crazy. I'm like, I don't have $100 to spend every month on nails.
Yeah, and then I'd be so cross when they grew out as well. Like, if I loved them as well, I'd just be like, why? They need to last longer. Yeah. Like, I spent $100 on this. Like,
yeah, it's just, I couldn't believe it. I was like, okay, don't need to do that again anytime soon.
No. Oh my God, no, that's... Yeah, but it's become the norm now, and it's just something I'm refusing to buy into, because I can't go down that road.
No, the spray tans, the everything, like the extensions, the nails, everything. It's just like the lashes. Oh my God, the craze with the lashes. It's like, Do you want to spend $100 on putting on fake lashes for a month? Done it once for a wedding. That was it. I was like, I don't know why people keep doing this week after week. Crazy.
Yeah, and I know that I mentioned social media earlier, but I think a lot of that is like it's the TikTok and the Instagram of it all. Like I know that especially during COVID, like skincare and makeup completely blew up, and I was oblivious to it because I refused to download TikTok at the time. But I know that like people get their nails done, they post them, you know, Instagram and stuff. I know that like some of the bigger creators, like it's makeup, it's hair, it's everywhere. So it's created this culture of like, oh, I've got to do all these things to keep up and
look a certain way.
Yeah, and it's really, I think people should like what they like. Like I've recently, you know, started watching a few makeup creators that I really like, and I've learned how to actually do makeup slightly better than I used to.
Yeah.
But I would never go and like spend all of my money on makeup because they've recommended it. Like I have my products and I'm like, okay, until they're used up, I'm not doing anything. But I know that like that's not the norm in TikTok culture now.
No. I've got to try this. I must have this.
It's very keeping up with the Joneses. And it's also the thing of like, if people are trying to become a creator, they will buy products just so that they can review them. So there's almost this sub-market of like, yeah, you're marketing to the general public, but you're also marketing to creators who want to buy things just so they can try them. So it's weird. It's
interesting times.
Yeah.
And I think until we have a shift in social media, I don't think that's going to change. No. I think that's just the way that everything is advertised now.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
Yeah, and it's like everything's advertised by normal people, or like you can't always tell that something's an ad and what's a genuine opinion.
A paid partnership.
Yeah, and some people are really sneaky about like where they put it. And I mean, I don't bother to read captions most of the time as well, so you know, who knows. But like I've got halfway through watching videos before and then only realized, oh, this is probably an ad because they're using the full brand name and they're like, look at this L'Oreal ABC product. Yeah, you're like, no one talks like that.
Available for this price.
Yeah,
it's like, okay, that's an ad.
I bought it at Walmart for only $7, and you're like, okay, this is clearly an ad now.
Yes.
But like you've already got halfway through watching the video before you figured that out.
And you feel like, oh, they sucked me in.
Yeah. Or like there was this thing for a while where there was this product called Bloom, and it was just appearing in the background of people's videos. No one was talking about it, no one was acknowledging it, but it was just there. Like people could just see it. And it's very strange. But it got the name out there, and then people were like making videos going, where is this Bloom thing coming from? Like, it was almost like a conspiracy of like, why is Bloom in the background of all these videos? And like it would lead to people buying it because then you recognize the name and you're like,
well, that's it. They've done their job. It's marketing at the front. It's stuck there. So that's how they've done it.
That brand recognition part is really powerful. The whole marketing side behind luxuries is kind of scary. And like as someone who works in marketing and business development as well, like we've got a lot to answer for it. But the whole trend at the moment is that things are sold by people that people genuinely trust. Like it's sold through relationships rather than traditional advertising methods. And so now I think particularly for younger generations that spend so much time on social media, you are being thrown products in your face all the time. Yeah. And even if you know something's an ad, you might be like, but this creator is so trustworthy. They would only advertise something that they love. So I'm going to go and buy 10.
Yeah. That's right. The power of social media and the power of influence.
Yeah, but it's almost like, it's not subliminal advertising, but it's like unaware advertising. Mm-hmm. Like you've just built this trust and community, and then suddenly everyone's like, where did you get all of your stuff? I want all of your things. Like I want to recreate them.
It is very strange, and there's just so much. It's just overwhelming.
Yeah. And people know what they're doing as well. Like we talked about it before we started recording with the lipstick effect and how like when things are difficult, people like to buy these small things because it
builds
gives
you up.
That boost.
Yeah. Dopamine.
Yeah. And that's kind of where we're at now. Like we know that things suck. And like everything on the news is very much, you know, the economy's bad, you can't afford to do anything. Like you've just come out of a pandemic, and guess what?
There's a war going on.
Yeah.
In multiple places. So it's like, okay, what can we do to make ourselves better?
Yeah. And so like I actually looked into the history of the term lipstick effect because why not? And it actually came from the chairman of Estee Lauder.
Ah, Oh, right.
Yeah, so they realized that during recessions, people can't afford a car, a house, or anything significant. And he realized that people might still treat themselves to a smaller thing.
Okay.
So he started marketing treat yourself to a lipstick. And that's how it came about, which is really
very
cute.
clever.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, but that was years before like the current situation we're in. It's a trend of what happens. Like it happens during wartime, it happens during recession times,
Yeah.
and even though we're not in a recession at the moment, we may as well be. Like,
yeah, I think you're right there.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I think it's interesting to have a look at. Like, I mean, I think it's definitely true that like our generation, the younger generations, we are spending more on these luxury things or like leisure things. Yeah. But I think there's good psychology behind it and like good reasons behind it. And like part of it is because the big things are unaffordable, but it's also people have almost hacked dopamine and like these things will give us dopamine. And then they go on social media and say, do this and it'll give you a great dopamine hit. So then everyone does it.
Everyone does it. Yep. And it's dopamine on dopamine because you've got social media gives people dopamine. So then they're buying into that, and then they're buying the product that gives you dopamine. So it's just a continuous roll-on effect.
And then they reshare it on social media. So then people will like it, and then they get dopamine from that. And it's
it's just
I didn't even realize until I was saying it out loud. I was like, oh my God, it doesn't end.
It doesn't end. It just continues, and it manifests. And it will continue to manifest. So it'll be interesting where we are in a few months' time, I think, as well, or even in a year's time, to see what happens as the world continues to change and things keep happening. How much more it will expand, or if it will drop back, change again.
And I will say, like, for any like older people who may be listening as well, like I would imagine it's really, really difficult to hear people say, oh, I'm really struggling with money, but then also, you know, maybe having a brand new TV and, you know, all the newest gaming systems or something like that. But there is this whole bigger picture behind it all, and there's the price disparities, but also like all the psychological effects, and also what people now can't buy. And so they're buying these things instead. Like
they're focusing on what they can buy.
Yeah.
And it seems to some generations that it's, you know, a for now thing, or more materialistic, but at the end of the day, it's what they can buy. So that's what they're buying. Yeah.
If all you can focus on is the for now, then that's what you're going to do. And I could imagine how frustrating it would be to like look at people and be like, no, you shouldn't do that because if I'd done that, then I wouldn't have been able to do this. But it's so different now.
So different.
Yeah, cool. Well, no, thank you for joining me for this. It's rant, really.
No, it's good fun. Yeah. It's always good to bounce ideas and opinions off each other.
Yeah, and I feel like we see this on the news so much. Like, it's nice to talk it through. And
without so much negativity.
Yeah, 'cause I feel like as well, like the media really pits like the generations against each other, and all that really serves is the government and the companies.
Yeah.
Like no one generation is like, I guess, stupider than the others.
Yeah.
Everyone has their flaws and.
Yep. Everyone has their own issues to deal with.
Yeah.
And that's going to continue to be the same. So I think it'd be nice to see some generational togetherness.
Yeah.
But time will tell.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe we can use TikTok for that.
Maybe. Maybe that'll be the one good thing TikTok will come out of.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. But no, thank you so much. And I hope you'll come on again sometime. Absolutely. We'll find some more things to talk about.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
No, thank you. And thanks to anyone who is listening. Please check us out on socials and everything like that. And I will see you all next time.
Bye.
Bye.